We're now joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 Snickers Bites Toyota for this weekend. Kyle, you have 2 wins this year and headed into the All-Star. How do you feel?
I'm looking forward to it. This is always a pretty cool race and has, good atmosphere around it. The crowd gets jacked up, and of course, there's nothing important on the line besides $1 million. So you just go out there, race as hard as you can, and it all starts today here in about an hour. You get some practice runs in, get some good practice in, make sure your car feels good to you, and that you try to work on your speed, of course, as best you can, and then qualifying. That's certainly going to be interesting here today, and trying to figure out how all that rolls on. But I think it's all in all, it's a fun event. We always enjoy coming to Charlotte and getting these 2 weeks here with the All-Star race, one of the shortest and most fun events, and then the Coca-Cola 600 with the longest event. So, kind of the 2 spectrums here in Charlotte.
Jim Noble, ESPN. Do you feel the freedom to drive people differently this weekend because no points ramifications, you're not going to ruin somebody's season if something happens? Do you feel like you don't have to give and take as much as a normal points race?
Yes and no. I mean, you're that guy is still going to be mad at you, or you're still going to be mad at that guy. It doesn't really matter what happens or what the scenario is. It is a race. You do want to win it. But, for this event, at least, it doesn't have as much ramifications on it. But, you still want to have the opportunity to make it to the final segment, of course, and to be able to run hard and to be able to go after that $1 million.
Tom?
Hi, Kyle. Tom Jensen, Speed.com. I know you had a tough break last week at Darlington, but you're off to the best start of your season since 2008. You've been running well. All the JGR cars are fast. Do you think this is the year that you can break through and win a championship?
Well, I mean, it's real early to be talking championship, but, certainly I will give a lot of credit where it's due, and that's to the guys at Joe Gibbs Racing, all the guys and gals that have worked so hard at giving us some really great race cars, and I think it's proven. And, unfortunately, Denny's been out for a few weeks, so he hasn't gotten the full taste of it all, but he had a great race last week at Darlington, one of his favorite racetracks, and we had a good race there. Kenseth won, of course, and Kenseth has won 3 of them, so he's certainly no slouch, and that's why we all talked, last season about what we were needed and what we were looking for in another driver, and we knew Kenseth had it. It's not that he was missing anything over there at Roush, but it just seems like everything is in a lot better place right now. He's got a fresh start, so it looks a lot reminiscent to my 2008 season from leaving Hendrick for Matt, more than this season looks like 2008 for me, I believe.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Kyle, week in, week out, you're one of the best guys getting on and off pit road. Does the no pit road speed during qualifying play to your strength, do you think, or does it equalize things somewhat?
I don't know. I've been thinking about that last few days. I heard the rumor of it, that there was no pit road speed, and so I talked to the guys in our Monday meetings, and they're like, no, you're crazy. It's just no speed exiting. And I'm like, no, I think I'm right. I think there's no speed entering. And so they all text me back, and they're like, yeah, you're right. So what do we need to do? And I have no clue. So, when was it? 80s, 88 something was the last time we saw no pit road speed or something like that. So, it's been a long time. So Jeff Gordon doesn't even have that experience. So we'll see how it all plays out for us. But I think it'll be interesting. Again, I have no idea what to expect, to be honest with you. It's just hopefully we get some practice at it here and we don't tear up the grass too bad.
Little Lee, Bob, and then David.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. The fact that your guys can't jump off the wall, though, until you come to a complete stop, you think that there could be some subjective calls on that as to were you at a full stop? When did the guys leave pit road? Other wild card kind of scenarios that can come into play.
Yeah, there's too much human judgment in there. So I don't think that's. 1 second's 1 second. That's a lot of time. I sat on the pole here the last 2 years, I think, and a second by somebody would have changed. I would have been second or third in the order. So that's a lot of time. We'll just have to see what happens. But my guys are a little disappointed actually because they don't get to jump out in front of the car. You know, they'd rather it be, sure, no pit road speed, but be as it is. I mean, if you see your car's coming at you way too fast, and then you just stay on the wall and watch it go by. Otherwise, if you're coming in like grandma, then you jump out there and get ready for it, you know. So I think they're a little upset about that part, but I understand the safety part of it, and you know, we don't need to hurt these guys here and take any of them out for the rest of the year.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. Even Kasey Kahne said he was surprised what's happened between the two of you guys this year. Did you call him, and how do you race him going forward?
You race them just as hard as you race any other week. You know, the first two instances were a mistake, just misjudgment. You know, I mean, Kasey admitted it. He had to get on the brakes in Daytona, checked up a little bit. I ran over him. You couldn't really see through the cars in front of you to see what was happening. And then Daytona, I just misjudged. I wanted to pull out, and then I thought last second, no, I'm going to stay in line and push Kasey. And I turned him sideways when I was coming back in line. And last week was just hard racing. I mean, you're in the last 30 laps. You're past the last pit stop. And, you know, it's all about track position. So for us, we were racing as hard as we could. He pulled a huge slide job on me in turn 3, and I got back to his inside. And I'd been running down there on the flat all night. I've been passing lap cars down there, and some of my restarts were even that low on the racetrack. So I didn't think there was going to be a problem. And when I got down there, I just got tight and pushed up a little bit. Whether or not we touched, I think that's insignificant because I'm not racing to wreck Kasey Kahne. Kasey Kahne did crash because of me. So, you know, it's a part of hard racing there at the end of the race. And I hate it that it keeps being the same guy. But if it were a Matt Kenseth on a Tony Stewart, you know, we probably wouldn't see a story.
David?
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. When you're running up front every week like you and Kasey have, though, isn't that kind of I mean, you're going to be around each other, so you can't avoid each other. Is that just a product of hard racing when you guys like that? Because back in the day when Earnhardt, he was always up front, so if he wrecked somebody or got into somebody, it always drew attention. If this happens way back in the field, nobody notices it. Do you feel like that's just something you got to put out of your mind? I mean,
I think that's got some merit to it, sure. You know, being up front, racing with a guy. I mean, Kasey, he finished, he won Bristol, and I think we finished second to him there. And then, you know, obviously he ran well at Vegas. He ran well at Kansas. You know, we were up front at Vegas with him and running well there. But, yeah, I mean, you run up front and you try for wins in the last 30 laps, and you've got to give it everything you got. I mean, you're not there to roll over and let a guy go. And, I mean, even the Darlington piece, if I would have let him go, I don't know that I could have got back by him, you know. So it was a little difficult to pass, and he did seem to have a good car on the long run. So I knew that protecting my spot was what I needed to do at that particular point. But, you know, racing up front, racing hard, I'm sure that there will be a moment where, you know, it can come back on me, and I expect it. It's fine. But, you know, I just told Kasey, I said, just don't make it hurt too bad.
I want to follow up, too. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. They misdefine the line between what's a dirty driver and what's an aggressive driver. What is your line for what you consider dirty racing versus just hard racing?
Dirty's when you don't even give a SHIT about the guy next to you and you just flat out run over him. I mean, I do have some care on who I'm racing and how I'm racing them. There are certain guys that I don't. And, you know, and you can be aggressive and you can be seen as dirty in those situations. And certainly there's some times out there where guys run you too hard, and that's just because you don't have a good relationship with them or whatever, and they're mad at you. And, you know, you have those situations with guys on the racetrack. You have for years. It's just a matter of who those two are or three are.
Go to Jenna, Mike, and then Alan.
Jennifer, AP, I just want to clarify something before my real question. So you are expecting retaliation from Kasey and told him just don't make it hurt too bad?
I said it as a joke.
Okay.
So
No, but I mean, but you're joking, but are you expecting it?
I don't think Kasey's that kind of guy, but if it happens, I'll understand.
My second question, my real question is, you have some like astronomical number of leading 200 or more laps, 11 races, but only winning 4 times. Are you able to take any solace at all in, hey, I dominated that race and then for whatever reason I didn't win it, or does it just eat you up even more? You know, and if you could flip it, would you rather lead only 1 lap with it being the last lap?
Yeah. If you lead 260 whatever laps and don't win, it's a lost race. It's gone. It means nothing. It is what it is. You know, it sucks and you hate it. And on the flip side, if you could only lead one lap and lead the last one and win any race, I'd have that happen every single week. You know, it's all about taking home the trophy and the checker flag. It's not necessarily about how many laps you lead. When you lead all those laps, it shows that you're good, your team's good, your car's good, everything else. But it just goes to show you how much bad luck this has.
Go to Mike and finish up with David.
MikeEmbrySpeed.com. Last year in this race, if you won a segment, there was no reason at all to race hard to the end. Is that going to change this year? Does your approach change? And what do you think the possibilities of a driver winning every segment are?
I don't know if you have my transcript from last year, but I said the rules were stupid and they need to change it to this year's rules, so I take full credit and responsibility for them changing the rules. So I think the rules are right this year. Last year, you're exactly right. You win a segment and you roll in the back. I mean, we all knew that. That's the strategy you got to play. And Jimmy played it the best, obviously. For us, or for this year, that's entirely out the window. You have to run each segment as hard as you can. You got to stay up front to keep your average finish as good as you can. So there's going to be a lot of things playing out in between the segments with pit stops, tire strategy. Do you take two? Do you stay out? Do you come in and get four? If there's a yellow in the middle of a segment, do you pit then and get yourself ready for the next segment? So there's a whole bunch of different things that could certainly lie in the race, and I think it's going to make it a lot more fun, not only for the fans, but you know, for the crew chiefs as well. I say fun, but I'm sure they'll have some headaches after it too. So I think this year's going to be a heck of a lot better. Realistically, winning all the segments, if I were a sports bookie, I'd put a 300 to 1 on it.
Dave.
David Carroll, NASCAR.com. Kyle, real quick, just to follow up, have you and Kasey have talked or have not talked since
We
last
have
week?
communicated.
You have communicated. Okay. Second of all, Dave told us after the race last week that you still have a lot of friends over on the 5 team, and the last thing you want to do is make more work for those guys. Can you kind of expand a little bit on the relationships you still have over there at the car you used to drive?
Yeah, one of the main mechanics over there, Kevin, he call him Slim. He's been there since the beginning of the 5 car, and he's still on that team. Obviously, Gustafson moved from the 5 car to the 24. He took a couple of guys with him to the 24. My tire guy that I had in 2008-9 at JGR is now the tire guy on the 5 car. So, and there's a couple other engineers and stuff like that I know, and so I've got a good relationship with. And the shop is the 524. So even though Gustafson moved to the 24, it's still the same shop. So Gustafson and Josh and some of the other guys, you know, that I do know over there still are all the same guys. So I don't know why it keeps happening the way it's happened, and I hate it that it is. But, you know, this last week was just hard racing, and it certainly became unfortunate. But it does look a little redundant, so I get that part of it too.
All right, Kyle, thanks for your time, and
All right.
good luck in the All-Star race.
You got it.